All right, guys, so this is our fourth talk. Any questions so far regarding the challenge? Concerns, things that are going good, things that are not going as good as you would like, anything like that?
I wish it was faster progress.
That's a great point, right? We wish it was faster. The things to remember, especially when you feel like it's not happening fast enough, is you didn't get to the point of deciding you needed a change overnight, and we're not going to get to the this is where I feel the best overnight. And giving up will definitely not make it happen any faster, right? And going back to what we were doing to get us in the spot where we're like, I need help, I need to be doing things different, isn't going to make that any faster. So it's consistency, and that's a big part of the reason why the design of the challenge is in a way that this is sustainable, and it's not at the end I can eat all these things I wasn't eating before, because we're not taking any of them away. We're allowing you to eat whatever you want while still fulfilling the parameters of, if you are making better choices by having enough protein, you're having good amounts of fiber from your fruits and vegetables, and we're adequately hydrated, our desires for those foods that are much higher in calories and or higher in salt, higher in sugar, aren't there as much.
It's true, and the one time when you said, like you think you wanted to eat, whatever, something, go eat what you're supposed to eat first and have a drink, take a walk, see if you still want it.
Yeah.
It's stuck in my head, and it really does work.
Good, that's awesome. Any other stuff right now?
Just trying to remember that I'm an all or nothing, so not getting upset with myself if I eat something that isn't, do you know what I mean? Like, I struggle, it's a challenge, and so I'm semi-competitive, but just remembering there were a couple of days where I ate something that didn't qualify as like a protein or like I just made a mistake.
Not everything that you put in your mouth has to count towards the goal, right? And that's not the end of the world, because we need to be able to live our lives. And so if you have a piece of cake that has no protein, no liquids, no fruits and vegetables, that's fine. And it's especially fine if we're still doing all of the other stuff that we're supposed to be doing. And like you said, it's a challenge. Every one of you guys has different challenges within the challenge. Some of you is getting the protein, some of you is getting the fruits and vegetables, some people it's getting the steps in, some people it's hitting CrossFit 5 days a week, some people it's the time in the bed, and there might be a variety of those things. And what it should be doing is highlighting, this is my biggest area of weakness and I need to shore this up. And that's really what we're looking to do. We bring attention to the low-hanging fruit, the things that are the most egregious in terms of inhibiting our success, and we work on them. That's what this is about. And today's lecture is about fitness and recovery. And you guys are all, I would say, not overachievers in the fitness realm, but like you are trying really, really hard. And some things that we want to bring some clarity to is like, what is fitness, right? And you guys are all CrossFit athletes now, or participating in CrossFit, deciding if you still want to do it. And so CrossFit has different definitions of fitness. They actually have 4 definitions of fitness. So one is defined by improving and enhancing the 10 general physical skills. So 10 general physical skills, we have cardiovascular, respiratory endurance, right? So like cardio, which I think most of you guys are familiar with. We have endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, speed, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy. So you guys will see a lot of that stuff happening within what we do with CrossFit. And you might be thinking like, well, what about accuracy? Accuracy is how we do our lifts, hitting a wall ball target, jump rope, right? It's the types of things where your precision needs to be there. So that's like one of the things that we look at. Like when we are talking about fitness, those are things that we're looking at. And so those are the 10 skills that we will work on through either practice or through the workouts that we do. Okay, that's one of the definitions. Another definition is this idea of the hopper. So imagine a large hopper that has every workout ever written in it. Spins, you open it up and you can pick one out. Goal of CrossFit is to be able to attack whatever that is. Whether it's a 1 rep max deadlift, run a marathon, swim 2 miles, any type of CrossFit workout in between, Murph, whatever. And so that is this idea of this general physical preparedness that we want you guys to be ready at any time to do whatever it is that comes in front of you. One of my overarching goals in the gym for everybody that comes here is that you're never presented with something and you say, I physically am incapable of doing that. Hey, let's go on this awesome hike in the Adirondacks. I'm not strong enough to do that. My cardiovascular is not there to do that, or whatever, right? I want you guys and myself to be able at any time to go do some type of cool adventure. Someone's like, hey, let's go run a half marathon in a couple of weeks. I think if you are coming here very regularly, your food's in check, and you're doing all the good stuff that you guys are doing right now, that should be something that you could do in less than a month's notice. That's my goals for you guys. So that's the hopper. Then there's the metabolic pathways. So metabolic pathways, this is a fun one, this is a cool one. We have our phosphoglycolytic or phosphogenic creatine phosphate pathway. This is really, really short stuff. This is like 0 to 10 seconds, full on super aggressive sprint. Like your absolute hardest, okay? 100-meter dash kind of stuff, like really, really aggressive. Also 1 rep max lifts, okay? So like super high effort, super powerful, super fast, but very short duration. Then we have what's called our glycolytic pathway. This is still kind of anaerobic. This is above that 10 seconds, but less than 2 minutes. So a lot of the sprinting that we were doing today, like when we do a team workout, I like to make it very glycolytic. I like it to be this short, fast, aggressive sprint, and then if we're on like a team of 3 to 4, we get to rest. It's a more fun way to work on that than saying every minute on the minute, you're gonna sprint on the bike for X number of seconds or something like that, because you are motivated by your teammates. The time intervals of resting is gonna change a little bit, and you just keep doing the best that you can. And it makes it more of a game, okay? So that kind of pathway, like a really, really short, fast, aggressive workout, we don't do too many of those where it's just one time through, but it might be one of those workouts where it's like every 6 or 7 minutes, do this, this, and this, and it takes you, 1 to 2 minutes, that kind of thing. And then we have the oxidative pathway. Oxidative pathway is everything above that. Now, when we are doing our activities, it's a combination of those things. So if you have like a Garmin watch or your Apple Watch, I'm not sure how that one tracks it, but like it'll tell you, was this aerobic, was this anaerobic, was it both of those things? And you'll see what kind of heart rate responses you have with that, and it'll just kind of give you some information of what type of energy pathways we're using. So that's also a little insight as to why we program certain workouts the way that we do. And then lastly, and I think this is really the most poignant one for what we're talking about, is the wellness, sickness, fitness continuum. So on one side, we have sickness, right? Disease, okay? Whether it's cardiovascular disease, whether it is dealing with obesity-related things like diabetes, those types of things. We have disease on one side. Then we have wellness, which is typically defined as the absence of disease. And then we have fitness. Fitness is kind of the extreme end of that. And fitness does not necessarily translate to wellness, okay? Wellness really isn't just the absence of disease, but it is a thriving where you have good biomarkers, you have good blood work, you have good blood pressure, okay? You don't have lots of orthopedic issues, you have good body fat percentage, you sleep well, you take care of yourself, you feel good. Fitness is an extreme version of that where you'll see people who are very, very fit that have some issues, some stuff going on, okay? You don't get more healthy the more fit you get. There's a point in time where your fitness keeps increasing, your health will decrease because it's at a sacrifice of other things, okay? And so those are kind of the definitions of fitness within CrossFit. The definition of CrossFit, we were talking about being able to, execute a lot of different things. And we're basically always measuring work. We're measuring how far are you moving, how much weight are you lifting, how fast are you going through things. And we use those as objective measurements. There's no subjectiveness to that, right? You ran a 400, you ran a 400. You can calculate the work by doing your body weight times the distance traveled, and you can figure out exactly how much work you're doing. You know, today's workout, it was distance traveled on the box, it was calories done on the bike, distance traveled on the lunge. It's just objective. So when we are looking at what we're doing with this challenge, we are looking to increase fitness, right? So we're looking at moving heavier weights. We're working on moving faster for longer. We're working on being able to attend more days throughout the week and not be totally destroyed, right? So those are ways that we are measuring that fitness. Are we improving on our lifts? Are we lifting heavier? Are we being able to do more repetitions in a row without having to take breaks? Are we feeling less sore and achy after our workouts? Are we able to get more steps in, right? Because all of you kind of are upping your game in terms of your activity level and what it is that you're looking to do. That's why you guys are here in person and listening to this, is you are trying to improve yourself. So when it comes to the workouts, you should be applying equal effort to the warm-up, which I think is a big challenge for some people, to our strengthening portions or skill portions, and to the workout, and not just getting comfortable at, I always do this level, or I always want to move fast, or I always want to lift heavy. We got people who kind of fall into all of those traps. There's days to move fast and light. There's days to move heavy and slower. There's days to move heavy and fast, and everything in between. And so we need to make sure that if you're not knowing what the intention is of achieving the fitness in class, ask those questions. You know, we try to guide you guys as best as we can, but if you don't ask questions and we say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and you just say yeah or whatever, we don't always know what's going on, okay? So with the fitness and we're losing weight, we might not be as strong. Because as we lose a little bit of weight, you might lose a little bit of muscle mass. And if we lose a little muscle mass, we will not be as strong at that top end. But we should see better conditioning. And we should see our ability to cycle weights that are lighter be better, okay? So that is something that can happen, and that's not my fitness is decreased. It's just, that's why there's certain sports that have weight classes, because the heavier you are, the stronger you will be, and it becomes an unfair advantage on certain things. So don't just look at, are my weights going up? Look at how all the other stuff is going as well, right? Now, fitness is the easy part. You gotta show up, work hard. What about recovery? Recovery is not just sleep, right? Sleep's a big part of it. But recovery is something that I think a lot of people are challenged with being able to recover. I know people who are stressful sitters, okay? And like, we need to take downtime and make it advantageous for us. And one of the things that we can do with that is, how are we breathing? And we've talked about this before in class, but the manner in which we breathe is going to have a significant impact on the stresses that we feel or don't feel, and how our heart rate is. You know, on the Garmin watch, they have stress exercises where you just do box breathing for 5 or 10 minutes. And box breathing, I think we've done it before in class, but one, we want it to be nasal breathing. So we've talked about that. I have pictures of some of you with tape on your mouths. We're gonna do a box. So you're gonna breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. Okay? 4, 4, 4, 4. So it's in for 4, hold, out for 4, hold. And what that does is it helps calm down the nervous system, it helps lower cortisol, it helps calm everything down. It's very good, especially if you're a person who has a hard time maybe going to sleep at night, or you get out of work and you're stressed and you're amped up and you need to calm down. It's very good at helping control the stress, especially if we're a person who doesn't have a lot of time sleep-wise, and you're like, I need to take advantage of it, and then you're like, oh my God, if I don't go to sleep, I'm not gonna get blah, 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 and then you're like, if I go to sleep now, it's this, and then you wait 10 minutes, and if I go to sleep now, it's this, and then if I go to sleep now, it's this, and it just keeps getting shorter and shorter. So let's take that time and use it for good. So it's really good in the car. Box breathing, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect 4-4-4. It can be a little longer, it can be a little shorter. You know, you can do 3s, you can do 6s, whatever you want to do, okay? Work on that nasal breathing. We already know that that's super helpful to keeping the heart rate down and under control, but adding in that is really good, okay, for recovery. The other things that are good for recovery are same things that are good for helping sleep. Doing activities that are not on electronics. So going for walks in nature, reading actual books with pages, okay? Performing tasks that are finite in nature. So cathartic things, puzzles. A lot of people like cleaning. A lot of people like knitting or sewing, or I used to do a lot of ironing because it works at making something perfect, right? We like this idea of control, and a lot of times when we're overly stressed and we can't calm down, it's when we feel like we don't have that control. So you take a task that you know is finite in nature, right? A puzzle. Good. I play my games on my phone, right? I play my Wordle games and all that stuff. They're finite, and it gives me complete control over the task. And so during that time, I'm working on my breathing while doing that to help me chill. So how I start my day typically is I get up, go to the bathroom, play my games, try to get them done, and it sets the tone for me for the day. It helps wake me up and it helps get me situated for what's going to be happening for the rest of the day. If it's later in the day, my go-to is going to be go for a walk. My go-to is going to be, you know, go to Chestnut Ridge or go to Devil's Hole and get some time there, and then maybe potentially sit down and journal or write some stuff out or make a video about whatever it is that's been bothering me and put it out there, okay? So depending on what availabilities of time you have and where you are, certain things work, certain things don't. We can always do the breathing, right? Always. Unless you are up here doing what I'm doing where you have to talk and you can't do the belly breathing, but you can always work on that belly breathing, okay? That's always a go-to. At home, you know, cleaning certain things, a lot of people like doing that, like I said, but finding some type of task, coloring books, that's another one that a lot of people like, adult coloring books, that kind of stuff. Those are gonna be specific tasks that have that finite nature that we can regain that control, take that and use that with the breathing, okay? But the very least is do the breathing. That's the easiest one, right? And you work on feeling where that tension is in your body, right? You're sitting there with your shoulders hunched up and you gotta make that neck a little bit longer and potentially sit up tall and relax those shoulders down.
I know.
Okay.
I didn't want to. And it's new comfortable.
Okay, that's fine. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions about like that breathing and or like what kind of tasks or what kind of things you would like or enjoy? Or are there ones that you do enjoy that I did not bring up? Danielle, do you have something you'd like to share?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
I already, the videos when we put them up, but then we say they're not safe for kids, so if it's something inappropriate.
No.
You sure? I don't know why you keep looking at Shelly.
No, I have nothing.
Okay. The other thing with recovery is what do you do after class? We do the workout, then what? Do you do any cooling down for yourself? If you have a nagging issue or injury, do you get inverted and do the hangs? Do you do any stretching? Do you go for a cool down walk after the workout? Do you just bolt out of here and leave? Do you do any of that stuff later in the day? Do you do any extra stuff before? I'm designing the workouts and I'm taking the warm-ups and I'm using the warm-up as a time to prepare for what we're doing today, to recover from what we did yesterday, and some degree of injury prevention. Now, each and every one of you guys are different athletes and have different things going on. You should be taking the time before and after to do some of that. You know, I get there's the social aspect and you want to have fun and all of that, and it's great, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves as best as possible and making sure that we are doing good recovery work in between, because these are hard workouts. They're not easy workouts. They're not designed to be easy. So taking an extra 5 minutes before or after is going to be very, very helpful in preventing injury, decreasing some of your soreness, and helping you transition to the rest of your day a lot better and easier, right? That ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, okay? Most of the time when people get hurt here, we see it's because they didn't warm up adequately, they jumped to a weight too heavily, or they tried to do something that they're not prepared for, right? And that comes back to the water being one of the biggest things in terms of recovery, right? The food is super important, but the sleep and the water are just as important in terms of that recovery. Making sure there's enough fluid for your body to process everything, to get rid of all of the stuff that builds up during the workout, but also make sure you can keep moving, make sure those joints stay lubricated, make sure those muscles stay moving, making sure we don't cramp up, making sure that we're not fatigued and then we start eating, all sorts of crazy stuff because we're actually dehydrated, but we're eating more because we have this feeling of hunger, but it's really not hunger, and it's that hydration issue, okay? This talk's not as long and profound as some of the other ones. It's seemingly simple stuff, but they're very important things to understand. Like when you're in here in class and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Having an idea of that we're always trying to work on these different things, or insight as to why certain types of workouts you don't like it, right? You might not like a short, fast, aggressive workout because you don't like operating at that higher heart rate, or you don't feel as powerful and you feel like you fall off a lot. Well, you might have an energy system pathway challenge, and that's why you don't like it as much, but it's not something to hide from. It's a reason why we do what we do, and that's why you'll see we spend most of our time in these like 10 to 15 minute workouts, or that's where we're working the most, because it's giving us the most bang for our buck of maintaining high levels of intensity, moving pretty good weights, and not putting you guys at risk of injury, right? 1 rep maxes and full-on sprints, high risk, high reward. A lot of people don't feel comfortable doing a 1 rep max back squat. It's scary. It's like, what if I get down there and I'm stuck, right? So we don't do that quite as often. And when we do 1 rep maxes, they're more like the Olympic lifts, like a clean, a snatch, where it's easy to drop the bar and you're in a safe spot. Or we'll do box jumps and we'll do it on soft boxes, or we'll say do 2 or 3 of them, because we still get a really high reward from a 3 rep, 5 rep, but it's a lot safer than that true 1 rep max, okay? And so we're striving to push you guys forward athletically, and you are all athletes, towards that increased level of fitness through the 10 skills, through the idea of the hopper, and through that sickness wellness continuum, okay? We want to eliminate and stave off as many metabolic conditions as we can. We want to make sure that we're not encountering things like osteoporosis, osteopenia. We're making sure that we're less arthritic, or that our muscles are strong enough to support us so that we can do things like get off the ground, play with kids, grandkids, do that cool, fun adventure, retire and live the life that you want to, just be a badass all around. So, questions, concerns, struggles. Everyone's just taking names and kicking ass. Guys, this is an opportunity, right? Any questions? It doesn't have to be just the challenge. It can be about the workouts. Like, we're talking about the fitness, we're talking about the recovery, we've talked about hydration, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about all that stuff so far. Any questions whatsoever, because if you have them, I'm sure the people who are going to watch this at home or listen later are going to have them as well.
So I have a question about my recovery and strain.
On your whoop.
Yeah, my whoop.
Yeah.
So I found that since the challenge started, my recovery has been better, generally. And even though I don't necessarily feel like during the workout I'm working significantly harder, my strain is showing up consistently higher after workouts.
For the workout or for the day?
For the workout, overall for the full day, but I'm really watching the workout. So my workout strain was generally anywhere from like 10 to 12, 10 to 13 maybe. Now it's like consistently 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
I just wondered if there was any like reason for that.
So Anne's talking about, for the people at home, Whoop strap. So it's a fitness measuring device. Basically what it does is every day you get a score for your recovery that's based off of how much you've slept, what kind of sleep you got, your resting heart rate, and then a thing called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is the time between heartbeats, and it's measured in milliseconds. And so the better all of those are, the higher her recovery score is. Then she also gets a score on strain. So strain is basically saying how hard have you worked today, and what level of strain have you put your body through. So that's what she's talking about. So obviously with the enhanced recovery, we're getting better sleep, we're eating better, so we're fueling that. That's a pretty straightforward one. That's definitely expected. The workout strains could also be shifting a little bit. One, you're feeling better and pushing harder, but also two, we are going a little more into more regular, longer workouts because we're getting more running in, which is automatically going to increase strain a lot, and we're getting ready for Murph, and we're just getting outside, so there is more of that happening. I know with the Whoop that it's very heart rate driven, where it'll be like if your heart rate's high, boom, we're automatically going to have a higher strain. Even if you just reach certain thresholds in a workout, it kind of bumps it up a lot. But we are getting outside more running, you're able to sustain a much higher heart rate for longer during that, so that's going to bump up the strain on those. But we are also having a little bit more longer workouts as we've shifted out of the open and then into, just making sure everyone's prepared for Murph and stuff like that.
Is recovery based, I don't have a Whoop, I have
Yeah.
a Fitbit, but is recovery based on every day your sleep? Or so if I come to CrossFit 5 days a week and I'm running 3 days a week,
Yeah.
I don't always have a day where I'm not doing anything.
So, really good question. And you don't need a recovery device to tell you this stuff, but things that you do want to look at. Just in general, how are you feeling? Okay? So, I listen to my body more, and I use this and I look at it, but I'm listening to my body more about how do I feel, and am I enjoying training? Do I want to train? Do I feel very tired and lethargic? Is my appetite gone or wildly increased? Is my urine the appropriate color? And you can even do a little heart rate check in the morning when you wake up. And so what you can do is just get your radial pulse, 2 fingers, get your heart rate for a minute before you get up. And if you know what your resting heart rate is, if it's over or minus more than 5 beats, we're in a period of overtraining. Overtraining doesn't mean bad, right? Because that's where an adaptation occurs. But if we're there too long, and then we start to feel like, I don't want to work out, I'm not looking forward to working out, or like if you're a person who's like that, or if you're just like super unmotivated, you're cranky, irritable, just really angry, like if things start changing like that, that's going to be like, hey, you need to probably take a day off, okay? That kind of thing. This device is good, but it's not the end all be all, right? It'll be, and I'm sure you've had days where you've had a yellow or a red and you're like, I feel fucking fantastic. And then there'll be days where it's like a green and it's like 98%. And you're like, I feel like dog water. Like, this is not perfect, it's a guide. And it's just kind of looking at trends over time versus, it's an absolute end all be all kind of thing. I use my Garmin and I got rid of my Whoop because I had both for a while. I found more benefit overall out of the Garmin. Step tracking, my runs, instantaneous heart rate. I didn't have to open my phone. I can track my workouts right on here. Again, I didn't have to open my phone. But it's $1,000 investment for this watch. There's different Garmin's, different watches, where the Whoop is a membership thing. I thought there was a lot of good stuff with the Whoop, but I get all the same stuff on here. I do get the heart rate variability, I do get the sleep measurements, I do get the resting heart rate, and I get the types of sleep, and it breaks it all down for me. It automatically gets my naps, and I only have to charge this every couple of weeks, whereas the Whoop I have to charge it every couple of days, Okay, I know some people really love the Apple Watch as well. I don't know all the details of what it provides, but it's not a necessity, it's a luxury. Any other questions, concerns? Danielle, I know I'm keeping you awake, I do apologize. That's it? Nothing? All right, that's it, we're done.